Hello, this is Dark Shades, and today's topic is worrying about what people think. Now, a lot of us do that, and it's got a lot to do with wanting to be liked. But some betray themselves in order to be liked, and that's where things go wrong. If you can't be yourself and somebody still like you and somebody still likes you, then that's where you're going to have a conflict inside. You're going to have an identity crisis. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you do things you don't want to and then you resent it afterwards? Are you unsure of who you are and what you want? Are you afraid to say what you really believe? Do you spend time with people you don't like because you don't want them to dislike you? Do you avoid certain people out of fear that they may not endorse you? Do you struggle to make your own decisions? And do you imagine that people are upset with you when really they're not? Sometimes, when we're worrying about what people think, we can't be ourselves. And I can't stress that enough. It's got to do with you being sure of your identity. Now, supposing I was worried what people thought, me being my age, a senior, and I've got a mohawk, like my daughter said to her grandson, do you know any grandmothers that have got a mohawk? And he said, no, only my nan. Now, if I was concerned about how I am perceived, I wouldn't have my hair like this, would I? I would go conservative, and I'm not saying that wouldn't be my true self, because I have a lot of different images, but this is the truest I've ever got to myself. I'm natural and this is me. Now, if I now, in order not to draw, well, I shouldn't say draw attention to myself, but in order to mix in with the crowd, then, like, you go out these days, everybody's wearing weaves and wigs. Now, if I wanted to mix in with the crowd, that's what I would do. And that way, I know that somebody would, I'd be, when people are selecting or choosing people in a crowd, you stand as much of a chance as anybody. Most of the times, if I go out with my hair like this, especially socially, I would not get approached. So it's quite interesting, because if I was seeking approval, I would wear those wigs, and the stuff that, men have been, I won't say indoctrinated, but what is perceived as being attractive. The long hair, whether it's real or not, it doesn't really matter. But that is what is perceived as being attractive. And this is perceived as being almost aggressive. People might even think I'm a lesbian with my hair like this. But, it creates a lot of assumptions, put it that way. But when you're being true to yourself, you can't worry about what people say. Otherwise, you would never, ever express yourself. A good example of worrying about what people think is that somebody was telling me that they went to have their nails done, and it cost them £30 to do their nails. So they'd chosen a colour, and the colour, when they put it on her nails, she didn't like it. So they pulled down another colour. And, they only put it on one nail. It's not a big deal. It's not like they paint the whole lot and then you say, oh, I don't like it. So they only painted one nail. And so she did it again, and she still didn't like the colour. Anyway, because of their body language, I assume, even when they brought down the third colour, she still didn't like it. But she didn't want to rock the boat. She didn't want to upset anybody. So she let them put that colour on her nails, and she didn't like it. Now, that's because she wasn't being true to herself, and she wanted to please the nail technicians. And that's an example of worrying about what people think. She was probably thinking, oh, they're going to think she's a nuisance. She's wasting their time. Time is money, and this woman is coming and keep changing her mind. She should know what she wants. and all that kind of thing. But my point is that she didn't want to upset anybody, and she was worried about what they were thinking. So the identity crisis comes when we need others' approval, but we also need to be authentic ourselves. And that is what sometimes happens. I'm fortunate, really, because I'm being my authentic self, and also people like my image. So there's no identity crisis, because we live in a world where, not that we seek approval, but it's good that you can get on. Now, if I did something outrageous that isolated me, it's not that you're worried that much about what people think, but it's better to have people on board so we can be true to ourselves and still have that camaraderie. We are at our best when we get along with others and think and act independently at the same time. And if you're worrying whether someone likes you or what you need to do to get someone to like you, you're not being authentic. You are compromising your values and your principles to get someone to like you. So the best advice I can give is hang around with people who see your strengths and who you trust, so that when they are into when you do something wrong or they say something to you, you're not going to take it personally, because you trust their judgment and you've been with them a long time, and you don't feel so embarrassed, and you're more likely to respect their feedback and ask them to clarify anything that you don't understand. It's also good to hang around with people who love you and to stick with them. Bernard Baruch put it well when he said, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." So that is so true, because there's nothing better than somebody sticking with you regardless of how you appear, regardless of how you look, and regardless of who you are. What's the worst that could happen? All you can say to yourself is, what's the worst that could happen? Because when somebody doesn't like you, what is the worst that can happen? So what if they don't like you? I've never been a type of person where I've worried about whether or not somebody likes me or not. I mean, the only person I worry sometimes is my mum, as old as I am. And even then, she used to pee me off so much. I just got to the point where I said, you know what? I don't care if she likes. I don't care if she doesn't like my hair. I don't care if she doesn't like the way I dress. I'm going to be true to myself. So she can stick up her nose as much as she wants. And I've really had to fight for this identity. I've really had to fight for it, and I've really had to be strong, because your parents, those are the ones you want approval from most. Those are the ones you want to endorse you. Your family, you want them to endorse you. You want them to love you. And if by being yourself they don't love you, it's very, very difficult, and it's quite alienating. So it's very important to believe in yourself and your judgment, and find ways to make yourself happy where you don't have to rely on other people. Experiment with speaking your mind, but remain sensitive to your surroundings. Maintain professionalism at work and consider the diversity in the world. But exercise your opinion can build confidence, because you know what? It's fine. People say, oh, you've got to speak your mind, make sure, to be congruent. But you can't. Some people, if you've got a biased mindset, I can't go around saying, oh, that nigger over there I can't stand him, or, that lady in the burqa is this and that. You have to censor what you're saying. You should still be able to say what you want to say, but it's important to make sure you're being sensitive and kind. You can say what you want to say without being cruel and and tactless. So Yeah, I'm going. Before I go in, I'm going to do this in two parts because it'd be too long otherwise. But I did want to say that, the last thing I said was consider the diversity in this world and exercise your opinion can build confidence. And the reason I say that is because I never thought I could look at myself on this YouTube video and actually do a video. I am so self critical. I would look at this, I look at that, and I'm like, oh no, I don't think I can do. What are people going to say about this? What are people going to say about that? Look at myself and find all my flaws. But I tell you something, doing it day after day and looking at myself day after day and listening to myself, it has built my confidence. And now I look at my face and I think, oh, it doesn't look too bad. It'll do. So anyway, part two coming up. This is Dark Shades, over and out.